All right, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Cody, and I'm the host of The Danny Show, where I give commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Before I get started, I hope you guys are doing okay. And today, I got a real special one for you. See, today, as we all know, is the birthday of the best in the world, CM Punk. And today, I'm going to do a countdown of my top picks of the best matches in the world from ours truly, CM Punk. Beginning, we're going to start off at number 10. And this is a match between himself and the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, at Reborn Stage 1 on the date 4/23, 2004, Ring of Honor. Let me tell you something. If you have not seen, whether they're in AEW, TNA, or WWE, if you have not seen these guys in Ring of Honor, you are missing out. And I am recently learning that myself. If Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Keith Lee, and all others, many of them before TNA and NXT, they started in Ring of Honor. And they had some real good matches there also. And this one between Bryan Danielson and CM Punk with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat as special guest referee was a great match. Now, even though Punk lost by tap out, it was great to see two stars, two of what would be the most popular wrestlers today, CM Punk and Bryan Danielson. I don't know why they didn't let Bryan use that American Dragon nickname in WWE, but hey, either way, great match between those two. And I hope to see Bryan Danielson and CM Punk go at it in AEW. They were the most popular in AEW as they were in WWE. Sadly, we never got to see them at their most popular peak before everyone left. But thankfully, we got to see some matches between those two. And this one at 2004 was real good. So check that out. Also next, we have CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy at number 9, TLC SummerSlam 2009. That was an excellent match. And before I go any further, let me just say that I am proud to say that, like CM Punk, I am straight edge, drug free, beer free. Now, I'm not telling anyone else how to live their lives, but for me, I think being drug free and alcohol free is what works for me. And some of you might agree with that, some of you may not, but that's just me and CM Punk. But when you're a narcissist, no one likes that. And at this time, CM Punk was a heel and a narcissist for being straight edge and throwing it in everyone's face, saying that he's better than everyone else because of that, which made him a good heel as a narcissist heel, if you will. But this match was awesome. Great highlights from both guys. And of course, we got to see a special appearance from The Undertaker at the end of that great match between those two. At number 8, we have CM Punk versus Alberto Del Rio at Survivor Series 2011. This match was very special for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was in Madison Square Garden. Number two, we had Howard Finkel, God rest his soul, as a special announcer for CM Punk, which was to get at the fact that Del Rio had his own special announcer. This match was great between both men. Both are very well specialized in submission holds. And of course, CM Punk would go on to win that match just like he did the latter match that was on the list via submission. And of course, this was the start to one of the longest WWE Championship reigns in wrestling history. And the other two, of course, being held by Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And I don't know if anyone's going to break Rome. I think Roman Reigns just might outdo both of their reigns, both Brock and CM Punk. I don't know. But this is Punk Day, so let's go for it. CM Punk versus Alberto Del Rio was the start of one of the longest WWE Championship reigns in history. So that's part of the reason I can put this on my list, and it was a great match. Number 7, we have CM Punk versus Eddie Guerrero at IWA Mid-South Wrestling, and the date is, let me see, February the 3rd, 2002. Great match. CM Punk won that match, but the fact that CM Punk went one-on-one with one of the greatest of all time, Eddie Guerrero, God rest his soul, also was very amazing. And of course, it didn't help that Rey Mysterio, who surprisingly was not masked at the time, assisted Punk in winning that match. So Eddie and Rey's rivalry goes to WCW and IWA. So that was a great match. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It was really great to see those two go at it. They had a triple threat match at one time later on that year before Eddie returned to WWE and Rey Mysterio made his WWE debut later in the summer of that year. They had a triple threat match in which Eddie ended up winning, and the rest of them got their respect afterwards. So, great match. And to know that Punk was doing so well in other scenes before coming to WWE and AEW was amazing. You got to check it out, especially Ring of Honor. Those guys at Ring of Honor, just awesome. And if you notice, back to Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, there was a moment during that match that I mentioned earlier where there was a yes and no chant. How very prophetic would that be? But either way, Eddie versus CM Punk, IWA South Wrestling. Real good. Next on the list, we have at number 6, CM Punk versus Chris Jericho at Extreme Rules 2012. Now, some of you have seen me do the review on Extreme Rules 2012 as a review from the past as we geared up for Extreme Rules a couple of months prior. And thank you guys so much for your views on that. Almost 70 views on Extreme Rules 2012. Thank you guys. I really appreciate that. But that was a great match. It took place in Punk's hometown of Chicago, Illinois, and it was a great extreme match. Both guys brought their best. Chris Jericho brought his best moves. CM Punk brought his best moves. But I believe it was a submission anaconda vice that would win that match for him, CM Punk I'm speaking of, and retain his WWE Championship, which was part of that very long championship reign that Punk had in 2012. So, and he was champion throughout all of 2012. Fun fact. So that match was great. Check that out. Excellent highlights. At number 5, back to Ring of Honor. An incredible match between CM Punk and Austin Aries. Again, I'm learning this now, but you don't know what you're missing if you have not seen Ring of Honor. All the greats that we see in AEW and WWE, they got their start. Or even in TNA, they got their start at Ring of Honor. And man, they had some great matches there, as the couple that was on my countdown proved. And this was one of them. Oh my goodness, this match right here was amazing. I was watching a video of Punk's top 3 matches in Ring of Honor, and Austin Aries was the second one. This match was so amazing. It started off with Punk taking control, and then Austin Aries taking control, and then so forth and so moving on. Near falls after near falls. There was a moment where I was standing up, and this, and I'm watching a match from 20 years ago, and I'm standing there like, is this it? Is he gonna kick out? And then when he kicks out, I'm like, man, wow. It's nothing like an epic kick out. It's like watching WrestleMania, especially when Undertaker tombstone Michaels and Michaels kick out. That was one of the most epic kickouts ever. But this match right here, 5 stars. If you haven't seen it, you gotta check it out. This match took place at Death Before Dishonor. Death Before Dishonor, and the date is 6/18/2005. If you have not seen it, you gotta check it out. That match was amazing. I don't have enough words to describe how great that match was. And some sportsmanship was shown at the end of the match, even though Austin Aries was acting like a heel, even spitting in the air towards the crowd. Ugh. But nonetheless, CM Punk won that match. Excellent, excellent match. 5 stars. I can't say enough about that. Number 4, we have CM Punk versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 29. Now, even though we were rooting for The Undertaker to win, and thankfully at the time he did win, it was still a very epic match on Punk's part because both guys brought their best. And Punk is one of the few men to kick out of The Undertaker's tombstone, at least the first time. A lot of people started kicking out at WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, then Punk, and Bray Wyatt. But hey, it takes something to kick out of that move because they didn't always used to do that. And Punk was one of the few that did it. He brought on a very competitive match. And the match was brought about because of Punk's mind games that he played with The Undertaker during the passing of Paul Bearer. And one thing you got to know about Punk is that when he is, whether he is in WWE, Ring of Honor, or wherever he is, CM Punk is the type of guy that when he's a heel, he will make sure you despise him. When he's a face, he will make sure you like him for real. He will make sure you worship him like Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's just how good he is. He can do both roles very well. And this was one of those moments where he did his heel character excellently. And he did so well that we were so glad that The Undertaker won. That just speaks to how good CM Punk was at doing his angle. But nonetheless, great storytelling, great match between both guys. That meme that The Undertaker gave when he sat up and looked at Punk when he was doing the Anaconda Vice was priceless. You have your Undertaker laughing meme, and then you have The Undertaker looking at Punk while stuck in the Anaconda. That was hilarious. The Undertaker was that pissed, and CM Punk had that oh snap look in his eyes. So, moving forward, great match, even though Punk did not win, still great. Moving forward, number 3, another match that even though Punk didn't win was great, and that was The Rock versus CM Punk at Royal Rumble 2013. Now, it was supposed to be sold that The Rock was the fan favorite, but if you listen, there were some CM Punk fans in the crowd chanting for him, which even though Punk did everything he could to be a good heel and make people dislike him, he was also the type of guy that even as a heel, you still cheered him, which is what made him become a babyface after that infamous / awesome pipe bomb that he delivered in the summer of Punk in 2011. So, CM Punk versus The Rock was a great match. Punk was already becoming a heel. This was before Punk and The Undertaker went at it. It was Punk versus The Rock. And it was a great match. Just awesome. And having two of the best go at it, there's not enough words. And even Punk almost won that match because The Shield, featuring The Rock's cousin Roman Reigns, who is now the head of the table and will probably reign longer than Punk, attacked The Rock in the Jet Black Dark triple power bombing him through the table. And somehow Punk was set to win that match until Mr. McMahon came out and reversed the decision. And The Rock insisted a rematch in which he would win and become champion in time for WrestleMania. But still, great match between those two. I enjoyed it. You gotta check it out. Moving on to number 2. His first match in AEW versus Darby Allen at All Out. Some of you have seen my review on All Out AEW. It was a great match, and that is another match that I cannot say enough about. Both guys brought their best, and it was very hyped up and built, and it lived up to the hype. So there's not enough words for that, but that was one of my top favorites. If you haven't seen it, check that one out. Darby Allen versus CM Punk, and Darby put out the challenge indirectly stating that Chicago was a great place to prove yourself, even if you think you're the best in the world, which was the first step in teasing that Punk would come in. And when he came in, oh man. But Punk won that match in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois, thankfully, as far as the fans was concerned, even though both guys were fan favorites. Man, that match was great. Speaking of Punk in his hometown, that leads me to number 1. CM Punk versus John Cena. Money in the Bank 2011. Let me tell you something. That match, I don't know. I think fans support, the Chicago fans will always support CM Punk. But I think they were so passionate in 11, as passionate as they were for Punk this year at All Out, they were extra passionate to me about Money in the Bank 2011. And let's not forget, Cena has never always been the popular guy until this year came around. But it was almost like you were scared. I mean, we all know what happened at Montreal in 1997 Survivor Series. We all know what happened in Montreal. However, this was one of those matches where that could not have happened. Oh my goodness. There was actually a sign in that arena. Someone actually had a sign that said, if Punk loses, we riot. And I'm going to tell you something. I believe them. Thank God there was no screw job by Vince McMahon. Because had it was, I thought bullets would have started flying. It was just that serious. It really was. I mean, if Punk had lost, if I was there and Punk had lost, we would have had to been crawling, because the whole Allstate Arena would have been set on fire. It would have blew up. It would have been ruins like Rome. But to the match. The match itself was the bomb. Can't say enough. And of course, having WWE 2K15, we've played that in the Cena versus CM Punk rivalry on 2K's Showcase, along with Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Hustle, loyalty, disrespect for the CM Punk Cena rivalry. That was a great storyline, but that match right there was one of the top ones of that match, of that rivalry. It was awesome. If you haven't seen it, you don't know what you're missing. The crowd was electric. The match itself was great. When you put 2 and 2 together, 5 stars. That's all I can say. And that's why that match to me is number 1. And that is why all these matches are the reason why Punk, to me, is one of the best, if not the best in the world. So, what do you think about this list? Are there any matches that didn't make the list that you like? Let me know in the comment section below. And I will be back another time for another review, because that's all the time I have for today, folks. So, happy Punk Day, folks. Straight edge rules. Just kidding. But either way, See you next time.